Hello and welcome to Anthem Chapter 8 and 9. Today you will be reading these two chapters and answering multiple choice questions based on the text. You will also learn about the science of breaking a habit. How does one break a bad habit or a routine that they don't want to be in anymore? And this is going to be a reference to Equality, who learns how to break the routines that he has been stuck in for his entire life. And he does it in this section of the reading. You will also review your predictions from last week and confirm your ideas by reading this week's chapters. All right, so we're going to watch this video. It's very short on the power of habit. So that was a novel, and they're going to have some interviews with the actual author in here. For this habit, they use smoking. Now, this is just smoking cigarettes. There is a section where the little brain says that he's buzzed after smoking a cigarette. That is not a drug reference. That is a reference to the fact that nicotine, which is in cigarettes, if you're not used to it, does give you almost that same high feeling in your brain until you get used to it.
So if you're like me, you probably have at least a few bad habits you would like to break, but it's tough because no matter how hard I try, I seem to slip back into the same old routines again and again.
In the last decade, we've learned a lot about how habits work.
That's Charles Duhigg, author of the book, The Power of Habit.
And in particular, we've learned the neurological structure of a habit.
He says that we tend to think of habits as a single thing, but actually,
each habit has three components. There's a cue, which is like a trigger for a behavior to start. And then there's a routine, which is the behavior itself. And then finally, a reward, which is how our brain learns to encode that automatic behavior for the future. And one of the big differences is that for years when people thought about habits, they focused on the routine and the behavior. But what we now know is that it's these cues and these rewards that really shape how habits occur and how to change them.
And Charles says that whether we like it or not, this kind of habit formation is endemic to our brain.
And what it will do is our brain will latch onto a cue that it associates with a behavior and a particular reward. And over time, that cue and that reward become more and more and more sort of intertwined. Either part of your brain named the basal ganglia will relate them together. And the behavior that's associated with that will just sort of happen automatically.
But Charles says the good news is we can also use this knowledge to our advantage.
There was a big study that was done about how to create exercise habits. And so what they did is they told a group of people, okay, first of all, choose an obvious cue. Always go running at the same time every day, or put your workout clothes next to your bed so that you see them first thing when you wake up. And then they said, then go for a run and go work out. And when you get back from exercising, give yourself a small piece of chocolate. Well, this is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because people who are exercising are trying to lose weight, not eat more chocolate. And yet what the researchers knew is that their brain needed that reward. Their basal ganglia needed some reward. And what they found was that people who ate a small piece of chocolate after coming home from a run or a workout, they were much more likely to start exercising habitually.
So, according to Charles, whether you want to break a habit or start a new habit, the key is to divide the habit into its component parts, cue, routine, and reward, and design it for the result that you want.
Hey guys, my name is Kirsten from
All right, So think about the things that have become habits every day for you. These can be either positive things or negative things. So you may eat at a particular time. The school bell or the alarm clock. This year is very different because we don't have bells to tell us when we have to move. And in the past, we've gotten so ingrained in the fact that when the bell rings, you get up and move. But sometimes your teacher is still talking and, you know, half the class gets up to move. And your teacher says, I'm sorry, I don't dismiss you, or the bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you. So it's that you get in that habit of moving when the bell rings, or when the alarm clock goes off, you get in the habit of waking up. Do you have chores that you do or fun activities that you do at the same time every day? Do you do something like bite your nails or use inappropriate language? Because that is a habit too. You get in the habit of saying, you know, F-bombs or whatever in the middle of your conversation. And, you know, there are certain circumstances where that's not okay. And if you can break that habit, that might be something you look into. So at the start of chapter 8 and 9, Equality can sleep in for the first time, and he comments on how he doesn't have a bell dictating his whole life anymore. So he never had the reward process of his old habit. Before it was just get up, work, go back to sleep at the end of the day, get up, work, go back to sleep. But now he's got a reward, which is he can sleep in. He doesn't have to toil. He doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to be part of the community that he doesn't love anymore. And that's his reward. Therefore, he's going to make new habits easier to form. And his reward is this idea of freedom. All right. So moving forward, we made some predictions last week that we made at the end of chapter 7. So at the end of chapter 7, equality has angered the council, and he has fled from them into the forest, the uncharted forest, and now he's in the uncharted forest by himself. So, we asked to make predictions for chapter 8 and 9. Will he survive? How will this go? Will he go back for liberty? All right, so once you're done reading, I want you to kind of analyze what are those predictions. So take a minute now to refresh your mind and make those predictions, and then at the end of the chapter, when you're done reading, confirm the prediction that you made, or, where did you go wrong? Think about that. So for part 8, now he's going to wake up in the forest, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his day. It has been a day of wonder, this our first day in the forest. We awoke when a ray of sunlight fell across our face. We wanted to leap to our feet as we have had to leap every morning of our life, but we remembered suddenly that no bell had rung and that there was no bell to ring anywhere. We lay on our back and we threw our arms out and we looked up at the sky. The leaves had edges of silver that trembled and rippled like a river of green, and fire flowing high above us. All right. So this is the first time he's gotten out of the habit of waking up with the bell and being forced to get out of bed and do something for the rest of mankind. Now he has the reward of just having freedom and being able to sleep in and do whatever he wants to. So he's going to be breaking these habits fairly quickly. We did not wish to move. We thought suddenly that we could lie thus as long as we wished, and we laughed aloud at the thought. We could also rise, or run, or leap, or fall down again. We were thinking that these were thoughts without sense, but before we knew it, our body had risen in one leap. Our arms stretched out of their own will, and our body whirled and whirled till it raised a wind to rustle through the leaves of the bushes. Then our hands seized a branch and swung us high into a tree, with no aim save the wonder of learning the strength of our body. The branch snapped under us, and we fell upon the moss that was soft as a cushion. Then our body, losing all sense, rolled over and over on the moss. Dry leaves in our tunic, in our hair, in our face, and we heard suddenly that we were laughing aloud, laughing as if there were no power left in us save laughter. All right, so equality has never had the freedom to just enjoy life, nature, laughter, or just the movement of his body. So he's now taking advantage of that freedom. Every day for him, you wake up, you eat, you go to work, you go to social time, you go to the theater, you go home, you do the same thing every day. For the first time, he's allowed to be himself. He's allowed to enjoy his life. So he takes advantage of that. Then we took our glass box and we went into the forest. When we went on cutting through the branches, and it was as if we were swimming through a sea of leaves, with the bushes as waves rising and falling and rising around us, and flinging their green sprays high to the treetops. The trees parted before us, calling us forward. The forest seemed to welcome us. We went on without thought, without care, and nothing to feel save the song of our body. We stopped when we felt hunger. We saw birds in the tree branches and flying from under our footsteps. We picked a stone and we sent it as an arrow at a bird. It fell before us. We made a fire. We cooked the bird. We ate it, and no meal had ever tasted better to us. And we thought suddenly that there was a great satisfaction to be found in the food which we need and obtain by our own hand, and we wished to be hungry again and soon, that we might know again this strange new pride in eating. All right, so because he kind of knows these primitive skills of how to build a fire and how to do these things, he knows he can fend for himself. And the idea of catching and killing and eating his own food is a huge accomplishment for him. Then we walked on, and we came to a stream which lay as a streak of glass among the trees. It lay so still that we saw no water, but only a cut in the earth, in which the trees grew down, upturned, and the sky lay at the bottom. We knelt by the stream, and we bent down to drink, and then we stopped, for upon the blue of the sky below us we saw our own face for the first time. All right, so this goes back to the video we watched the other day, you know, what would it be like to see your face for the first time? So here he is able to actually look at himself for the first time in his life. We sat still and we held our breath, for our face and our body were beautiful. Our face was not like the faces of our brothers, for we felt no pity when looking upon it. Our body was not like the bodies of our brothers, for our limbs were straight and thin and hard and strong, and we thought that we could trust this being who looked upon us from the stream, and that we had nothing to fear with this being. All right, so he realizes he's strong and healthy. He's handsome compared to the other people in his society. He's never been able to compare himself to them because it goes against the values of the collective society. So for the first time, he's able to make that judgment. We walked on till the sun had set. When the shadows gathered among the trees, we stopped in a hollow between the roots, where we shall sleep tonight. And suddenly, for the first time this day, we remembered that we are the damned. We remembered it, and we laughed. We are writing this on the paper we had hidden in our tunic, together with the written pages we had brought for the World Council of Scholars, but never given to them. We have much to speak of to ourselves, and we hope we shall find the words for it in the days to come. Now we cannot speak, for we cannot understand. Part 9. We have not written for many days. We did not wish to speak, for we needed no words to remember that which has happened to us. It was on our second day in the forest that we heard steps behind us. We hid in the bushes and we waited. The steps came closer, and then we saw the fold of a white tunic among the trees and a gleam of gold. We leapt forward. We ran to them. We stood looking upon the golden one. They saw us, and their hands closed into fists, and the fists pulled their arms down as if they wished their arms to hold them, while their body swayed, and they could not speak. We dared not come too close to them. We asked, and our voice trembled, "How did you come to be here, Golden One?" But they whispered only, "We have found you." "How did you come to be in the forest?" we asked. They raised their head, and there was great pride in their voice. They answered, "We have followed you." Then we could not speak, and they said, "We heard that you had gone to the uncharted forest, for the whole city is speaking of it. So, on the night of the day when we heard it, we ran away from the home of the peasants. We found the marks of your feet across the plain where no men walk. So, we followed them, and we went into the forest, and we followed the path where the branches were broken by your body. Their white tunic was torn, and the branches had cut the skin of their arms, but they spoke as if they had never taken notice of it, nor of weariness, nor of fear. We have followed you, they said, and we shall follow you wherever you go. If danger threatens you, we shall face it also. If it be death, we shall die with you. You are damned, and we wish to share in your damnation." They looked upon us, and their voice was low, but there was bitterness and triumph in their voice. "Your eyes are flame, but our brothers have neither hope nor fire. Your mouth is cut of granite, but our brothers are soft and humble. Your head is high, but our brothers cringe. You walk, but our brothers crawl. We wish to be damned with you, rather than blessed with all our brothers. Do as you please with us, but do not send us away from you." All right, so she loves him so much, and she sees so much potential in him, that she wants to be with him no matter what the consequences are. If he's unsavable in society, then she doesn't want to fit in, and she wants to be unsavable as well. She respects, she admires him, she loves him, and she is willing to risk anything at this point to be with him. Then they knelt and bowed their golden head before us. We had never thought of that which we did. We bent to raise the Golden One to their feet, and when we touched them, it was as if madness had stricken us. We seized their body, and we pressed our lips to theirs. The Golden One breathed once, and their breath was a moan, and then their arms closed around us. So again, he kisses her, a real kiss this time, not just on her hands. And neither of them has ever kissed someone before, but it's instinctual. It's what they feel they should do, and they do it. We stood together for a long time, and we were frightened that we had lived for 21 years and had never known what joy is possible to men. Then we said, "Our dearest one, fear nothing of the forest. There is no danger in solitude. We have no need of our brothers. Let us forget their good and our evil. Let us forget all things, save that we are together, and that there is joy as a bond between us. Give us your hand. Look ahead. It is our own world, Golden One, a strange, unknown world, but our own." Then we walked on into the forest, their hands in ours. And that night we knew that to hold the body of a woman in our arms is neither ugly nor shameful, but the one ecstasy granted to the race of men. We have walked for many days. The forest has no end, and we seek no end. But each day added to the chain of days between us, and the city is like an added blessing. We have made a bow and many arrows. We kill more birds than we need for our food. We find water and fruit in the forest. At night we choose a clearing, and we build a ring of fires around it. We sleep in the midst of that ring, and the beasts dare not attack us. We can see their eyes, green and yellow as coals, watching us from the tree branches beyond. The fires smolder as a crown of jewels around us, and smoke stands still in the air in columns made blue by the moonlight. We sleep together in the midst of the ring, the arms of the Golden One around us, their head upon our breast. Some day we shall stop and build a house when we shall have gone far enough, but we do not have to hasten. The days before us are without end, like the forest. We cannot understand this new life which we have found, yet it seems so clear and simple. When questions come to puzzle us, we walk faster, then turn and forget all things as we watch the Golden One following. The shadows of leaves fall upon their arms as they spread the branches apart, but their shoulders are in the sun. The skin of their arms is like the blue mist, but their shoulders are white and glowing, as if the light fell not from above, but rose from under their skin. We watch the leaf which has fallen upon their shoulder, and it lies at the curve of their neck, and a drop of dew glistens upon it like a jewel. They approach us, they stop, laughing, knowing what we think, and they wait obediently, without question, till it pleases us to turn and go on. We go on and we bless the earth under our feet, but questions come to us again as we walk in silence. If that which we have found is the corruption of solitude, then what can men wish for save corruption? If this is the great evil of being alone, then what is good and what is evil? So at this point, he questions the values of his society. He feels so good being alone and just being with liberty, and not living for the society and living for themselves, that he questions how something this good could actually be evil. And this is where you really start to realize that his society has been lying to him this entire time, and he is realizing it. Everything which comes from the many is good. Everything which comes from one is evil. This have we been taught with our first breath. We have broken the law, but we have never doubted it. Yet now, as we walk through the forest, we are learning to doubt. There is no life for men save in useful toil for the good of all their brothers. But we live not. When we toiled for our brothers, we were only weary. There is no joy for men save the joy shared with all their brothers. But the only things which taught us joy were the power we created in our wires and the Golden One. And both these joys belong to us alone. They come from us alone. They bear no relation to all our brothers, and they do not concern our brothers in any way. Thus do we wonder. There is some error, one frightful error in the thinking of men. What is that error? We do not know, but the knowledge struggles within us struggles to be born. Today the golden one stopped suddenly and said, "We love you." But they frowned and shook their head and looked at us helplessly. "No," they whispered, "this is not what we wish to say." They were silent, and then they spoke slowly, and their words were halting, like the words of a child learning to speak for the first time. "We are one, alone and only. We love you who are one, alone and only." We looked into each other's eyes, and we knew that the breath of a miracle had touched us and fled and left us groping vainly. And we felt torn for some word we could not find. So she expresses love to him, but she wants to express that with more than just words. So she amends that, she says it alone, to you, only you. So she expresses love for only him for the first time ever, because up until this point, she's only expressed love for society because that's all they're allowed to express. So now she makes it very clear that she loves him and him only. And he wants to respond with a similar feeling, but he doesn't have the words in his vocabulary that he wants to use to be able to do this. So at the end of this is very much kind of an allusion that refers back to the Garden of Eden. So, Adam and Eve, they leave the Garden of Eden. So in this case, their society would have been like that garden, that perfect place where there's no sin and there's no wrong, which we kind of talked about when we did Mango Street. But now, they've cast themselves out into the wilderness. And yet for these two, it's kind of opposite. They find more for them out in the wilderness than they did in their garden that they ever found. So this is where you stop and you look back and you say, hey, were my predictions correct? Did it go the way you thought it would go? Did he go back for her? Did she come for him? Is he going to die in the forest and only leave his words to be found later? How do you think this is going to continue to go on? We only have 3 more chapters, and they're pretty short chapters after this. So our novel is almost done. So where do you think it's going to go? And how do you think it's going to end? That is something to think on for the next time. So have a wonderful day, and we will join you again for chapter 10.